Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
What up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world? It's your boy, MacDaGiantsFan. I got my guy, Adam Costas, here with me. You know what time it is. It's the real Deal NFC East Round-Up. Punch that intro, baby.
Cash flow.
You smell it. I can smell it in the air, baby. I can smell it in the air. Football season is upon us. It's about to start getting even more real. The preseason is about to truly kick off starting tomorrow. How you feeling about that, Adam, man? Let them know, man.
How am I feeling? Finally, football has come back in August. That's how I feel about it.
Absolutely, man. I've never been so jacked up and hyped and excited for the preseason in a long, long time.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely, man. We got to see. We finally get to see this team on the field. According to the coach, Brian Daboll.
What team are we talking about?
You're playing. I mean, you know what team we talking about, man. We talking about them New York Football Giants.
That's right,
absolutely.
people.
Right out the gate, coming with the New York Giants versus the New England Patriots. They headed on their way up to Foxborough right now, getting ready for the showdown tomorrow night, man.
Safe travels.
Absolutely, man. I just love
this.
Is my favorite time of the year.
Get some sleep. Get some New England clam chowder in you, if that's what you like. Or if you want to be, if you really want to be crazy, get some Manhattan clam chowder in New England. Oh, I don't know. You're in New York. It's going to be a lot of fun. Randy, how are you? We're about to dive into this Giant team. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. It is. It's been long overdue, man. I've been waiting to see this product on the field in some capacity, and it's finally here, a little over 24 hours away, and we're gonna finally see what it's hitting for, man. I mean, I'm just curious to see the progression of this football team, man. I'm excited to see the development, hearing some up and down things about certain aspects of this team. So I'm curious to see the product on the field. The secondary is one of my biggest things I'm gonna keep my eye on tomorrow night, man. As you got to see what's going on out there, man. Who's gonna seize those spots that are available, that guys out there playing for, competing for. We know Xavier McKinney's spot safe. We know Adoree Jackson's spot safe. After that, man, it's got a lot of guys competing, man.
Got a lot of question marks. So they're going to New England. Games at 7:00. It'll be broadcast on NBC in the tri-state area, but you can see it nationally on NFL Network. And let's be honest, this is what some of the things that we're going to be looking for on Thursday night, tomorrow night. One, coherentness. Are they coherent enough to run the vanilla offense? I know people are getting mad at me. A few people got mad at me because we went to the practice and I said the team looked caca. Big Pat, how you doing? Hey man, you gotta put in that work. You know what I'm saying? But this Sunday is confident. I don't want to hear anybody tell me, well, they're running vanilla plays. Vanilla plays need to be executed at 100% capacity. Period. You need to come out there and run the basic formations. Look like a football team. Don't get called for holding all the time. Tyrod Taylor, don't make him look better than the starter, which they're probably only going to do a couple handoff anyways. Make sure that you come out of this game clean and you get a clear evaluation, because I think Brian Daboll is smart to start the starters, because I think that's what was the downfall of Joe Judge last year, was just saying that those dumb scrimmages that he played were enough to get this football team ready. Then come September, he goes, well, it's going to take 4 weeks for us to get up to speed. No, Joe Judge, no. The season doesn't start 4 weeks after you start the season. The season starts right out the gate. So right out the gate, I need Daniel to be in there. I don't even care if he plays a quarter. Just play. Good.
I mean, I'm glad you just said that, because I was thinking this the other day. What's going on, Ash, man? And thanks, Pat, man. This vacation was awesome, bro. Really appreciate it, man.
Got stories.
But
not for this chat, though. Not for this chat.
I'm glad you said that, because I know it may sound crazy, but I just feel like this team needs work. And I'm not saying all the starters need to play the whole first quarter, but I feel like, man, Daniel Jones needs a quarter of work.
At least
a quarter of work. I mean, if he can get 2 good sustained drives, then yeah, I can feel you on that too.
Yes.
But we need. I want to see this guy not just try it out there, like you said, for like one possession and just sit him down like that's enough work for the day. You know,
you missed me at FanFest live and in person. I was there, just as loud and as crazy as I am now. So I met Miz. You could have met Miz. He's the same height as he looks in his photos, and he's the same crazy nut job that that calls me every Sunday about football. But Mac, the thing is, this team is in a new offense. There's no excuse to put them on the bench. You only have 3 preseason games. You only got a little bit of work. If this were, go ahead.
I was gonna say, because like, straight up, like, obviously, we probably don't need to see a whole, like, for instance, quarter of work from Saquon Barkley.
No,
we know what we got there. You know what I mean? We know what we got there.
Yes,
but we keep that starting O-line out there. You keep Daniel Jones out there and get this kid the work he needs, man. Keep and let's go. I mean, I know it's in most situations that sounds like kind of like a reckless idea, but I think this is kind of just a different situation. This kid needs live reps. He needs live rounds.
Well, the entire team needs live reps, right? Think about it. Evan Neal, I would play at least 2 quarters with the first team and the second team, because he needs the reps and he needs them quickly. The more he can get, the better, because Bud Dupree and Harold Landry are coming to town. Okay, we're going down to Nashville in less than a month, damn near 30 days from now, and they're going to be live bullets flying, and he's going to need as many reps under his belt and many live at bats, I guess you'd call them, that he can get. This way, he doesn't feel like a duck out of water, come that Sunday. Because the last thing you want is to be like, all right, we're going to play Evan Neal just 1 quarter and yank him. And next thing you know, he could have seen more time. And I know you want to risk factor the injury, but I think Jeff said it best the other day. You can get injured any play, anytime, anywhere. I can't play.
It's football.
Right. We're not doing a ballet. We're not doing, baseball where you can scratch your nuts and get a home run, right? And stand around and do nothing. This is a live football game, live bullets. Guys are trying to make teams. This is what this is about. And this is what this preseason game is about. And there's going to be players that I'm looking at specifically in this game. And maybe not necessarily the starters, even though I played Daniel Jones all 4 quarters. That's just me. But we'll see what happens. I want Neal to play
with that too, big.
Half this game, to be honest with you. Yes, he needs it. The thing is this. People laugh at the preseason, but it's still NFL football. There are still guys that you're either going to see on teams or they're going to be on different teams. This is what you need. And I don't care if you're playing a 3rd string tackle because, New England doesn't want to play their guys. You need the reps against a different opponent, against a different jersey, against a different helmet, against somebody who's not in Appalachia State, okay?
I mean, absolutely, man. And like you said, to me, it's not about what the other team is doing. It's about what you need to do to make your team better. It doesn't matter if Bill Belichick doesn't want to play his starters. Well, don't just go out there and beat up on his backups. That's what you got to do. Get the reps in, like you said, against other teams. Start hitting people. Start getting conditioned to being hit, and get ready to play some damn football. Because this team ain't been ready to play football in a very, very long time.
And right now in practice, they don't look like they're ready to play football right now either. So for me, I need to see what they're going to do. Like you said, I don't need to see McKinney. If you don't want to address him, fine by me. Barkley, you don't want to address him, fine by me. You know what I mean? Daniel Jones, you don't want to address him, not fine by me. Okay,
No,
not fine by me.
Not at all.
The one person that needs the most reps in this game is number 8. But I get it. You need him also for 9-11. However, I don't want the guy behind him to look better because you decide to play him when, with the starters. You just need to give this guy a chance. You need to give all these young guys an opportunity to shine. Guys, I'm looking to see. Yusuf Korcher. That's a guy I'm looking to see. Okay? The safety. Let's see what AK has to say. It's different when you play your own guys compared to another team. That other team wants to get your QB. Your own guys don't necessarily want to do that. AK, let me touch on that point real quick. You're right. In practice, they don't hit the quarterback. So live bullets only fly so far. And Daniel Jones is skittish with nobody hitting him. So now you're going to tell me that guys are actually going to hit him now who are going to take his block off? Let's be honest. There are guys right now who are sitting there in their heads, in their dorm rooms, hotel rooms, wherever they're at, saying, I need to make a play here. I need to do something big to make this team. And this is where they just
Absolutely, man. This is the opportunity, man. Like you said, last year I felt like Joe Judge did this team a disservice in the preseason. Basically, just squandered it completely away. Like this team was good and ready to go. Clearly, we proved to not.
Instead, he lets Andrew Thomas get embarrassed, right? And everyone's panicking because he gives up a few sacks, and Andrew's like, "I was just trying something out." This is the time to do that. I know people don't want to hear gadget plays, but if I'm Brian Daboll, maybe I bring out one of the plays I never normally throw out there. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care if anyone sees my plays. It's about how I execute them. Because you know what Tennessee's going to do? They're going to turn around and hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and they're going to be like, stop us. They're not going to be like, the Giants are going to see our plays on Thursday night. No. Who cares? Who cares? Bill Walsh doesn't care. Execute your play. You're going to beat them. Period.
I mean, pretty much. That's how it comes. I mean, and that's also what it's about, execution, man.
Let me tell a Giant preseason story real quick. I forget what team it was, but the Bill Parcells Giants at one point played a team that was foreign to them, like an AFC team. They went back to preseason to kind of look at what they were doing, right? To kind of defend them. Now, I'm not saying it worked out for the Giants or not, but that's how far back they'll use tape from anywhere. So it doesn't really matter because you're changing your plays week to week anyways. You're not going to use the same type of plays you use against Tennessee that you're going to use against Carolina because that would just be dumb.
I mean, yeah, not at the NFL level. Things definitely switch week to week in the league here.
Right.
But I mean, it's just this team is just I just can't wait to see.
So let's get into this.
Get a little base. This is going to be like our little base. You know what I mean? Like to see. Okay, what
let's just hope it's
we
not a
actually
disaster.
have here? Yeah, I mean,
let's just hope it's not a disaster. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that this team is going to not look as good as we hoped. That's my concern. But who are some of the guys you're looking at in this game to get some burns, some players you might be focusing on? Let the crowd know on some nuggets you might want to share.
I mean, well, I'm definitely going to have my eye on number 5 overall pick and our number 7 overall pick. Those two 100% for sure. I mean, obviously picked them up high in the draft, 2 top 10 draft picks. We definitely got to see what we invested in. And the things I've been hearing, like I said, Evan Neal, he's been struggling a little bit. With the passing game, in pass blocking. It's been a bit of an issue. You've seen him getting beat around the edge quite a little bit in practice by even guys like O'Shane Zimenez.
Right.
But however, but things I'm hearing about what he's doing with the run blocking is just straight road grader. Like we just got a guy that Saquon Barkley can feel comfortable getting that ball and running right off of his ass. I mean, as much as he may need to. So I'm feeling good about that, and just hearing nothing but great things overall from his teammates. John Feliciano has been speaking very, very highly of Evan Neal. So I'm gonna have my eye definitely on number 73. That is number 73, Evan Neal. And,
he tried to pull a fast one on us. McAdoo got cut. He's like, "I'll take that number, thank you." McAdoo didn't even get out the door before the number got changed. Didn't even get out the door before the number got changed. Guess he won't be coming back. No offense to you, McAdoo.
Well, I mean, if he does, he's just gonna have to get a new number. Bro.
I guess you're gonna be taking 70, McAdoo.
But. And then Thibodeau, man, same thing. I just want to see this kid work, man. Hearing a lot of good things about his work ethic in practice, man. Seeing little flashes you get to see from the clips I see, man. He's looking at everything looking sharp. But I want to just get my eyes on these two very high draft picks that the Giants obviously invested in to help change the culture on this team and help take this team into new beginnings. Basically, essentially. These two are going to be cornerstone pieces, man, on this team, and I got to see what we invested in. Hopefully we made the right choices. I feel really good about both of these guys, man. But now it's time to see them on the field for real against other competition and not just their teammates in blue.
Well, I want to address something real quick that AK said. He said, "I truly feel that you guys have a better potential than most people give you credit for, but there will be ups and downs, but they will be downs you learn from and get better." I agree with you. However, here's my only issue is that a lot of these guys you see now won't be here next year. Okay. Just they're under 1-year deals or prove it deals or things like that. My thing about this season is I'm not worried about the ups and downs. Let the kids grow, let the young players grow, because the average median age for this team is like 25 or something like that. They don't have any old veterans really. No one's really like 30, 35, 36, something like that. The guys are about 30, and that's about the plateau that they go, right? So the median age is about 27-ish. So that's a very young team trying to come up and do a lot of things. The growing pains that we're going to see, let's get them out of the way early so that towards the end of the year, barring any injuries, we can start to see the fruits of our labor in terms of how this team is constructed, what players are going to be here going forward, what players aren't going to be here going forward, and if we're going to need, replacements, i.e. quarterback, i.e. running back, all these type of things, right? Because as much as we want to sign everybody, we can't eat up our caps with all these guys, right? Like everyone's like, oh, well, we can sign whatever. We're going to have ample cap. Well, if you sign 3 guys to max deals, that's most of your cap right there. Okay, and the Giants have $5 million right now that they have to work with. So let's see what happens. Taylor starts week 1. If DJ continues to fall and Taylor shows consistency, then you trade DJ to Seattle or the Browns. Now that Watson is going to be out for the year, then maybe get Jimmy G. No, if we do that, if the Giants do that, they're not going to bring in another quarterback. They just do a ride with Tyrod. The thing is, Daniel Jones, as bad as he looks, they're going to force him out there. They're not going to say to you, we made this mistake, because they are going to want to make sure that he falls on his face rather than them pulling him. And it may not be the smartest idea to do, even if Tyrod Taylor is outperforming Daniel Jones. I would say play the best guy, but because you put so much stock into him being the guy and you messing him up, they're going to do everything in their power to have this kid fail on his own. Before they do anything.
Yeah, Daniel Jones right now, to be honest, this is, for what it's worth, and I know a lot of people have strong feelings about this, but it's not an open competition. Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback. This is not – Daniel Jones would have to go out and be – it would have to be an absolute disaster during the preseason for them to even remotely to think that Tyrod Taylor is going to start week 1. Because it is what it is. This is not an open competition. Daniel Jones gets the first team reps in practice. Tyrod Taylor gets the second team reps. That's how it is.
I agree with what AK is saying, though, right? Is that the best player plays. I get it, and I'm all for that. Just like the best line, you know what I mean? However, oh wow, apparently Giants starters may be playing a whole quarter. That's what they need. Good to see. But the point is that if he comes out right now, this first quarter, let's say they get 3 drives, right? That's probably a good quarter, three drives, depending on the length of the drives, right? If he comes out and looks terrible and is overthrowing guys like he's doing in practice, it's going to be hard to come week one if he's doing that same thing to not put the backup quarterback in. But like Max said, they're letting him fail. That's what they want him to do, is fail, right? They don't necessarily, they hope he does well, but if he fails, it's not going to be because they didn't give him a chance. They're going to let him fail. I think it's an open competition behind closed doors, but they're not going to let you know that, because if they do that, then all this, finagling that they've done this whole off season has been for naught. I can see it via the money, and I can see it via how they're looking at, at Tyrod as a bridge quarterback. You don't want to pull the plug early, because John Mara is going to probably be beating on the table like, we got to give him a chance, at least 6 games, blah, blah, blah. If it wasn't for John Mara saying that, this guy would be an open competition. But because he said what he said, they're gonna make him sure that he fails.
What's going on, Philly Sports Wrap? What's up, Coach Ed? Thanks for stopping in, fellas. Make sure y'all definitely subscribe to me and Adam, man. If you haven't already, we would really greatly appreciate it. Sub up to the Hardcore Sports Network as well if you haven't already. But it's just, I'm excited. And you said you just saw. Did you get something? You just saw something that said that they're going to play the start.
I don't know how true it is. Somebody texted me, said Giants will play a whole quarter. So the source that I'm getting from is pretty reliable. So I'm going to have to do some research myself. But if this source is true, I can see that happening. And that's what's needed on both sides of the football. Like for me, I'm interested in seeing Darian Beavers. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I want to see how he can really put the real game together in terms of putting a full couple series together, getting the NFL reps that he needs. If you want to sit Blake Martinez this game, I'm all for it. I know that you said that guys are healthy, but don't be stupid, Coach. Don't be stupid. Guys coming off injuries like a Blake Martinez doesn't need to start. Barkley, get his ass in the game. Get his ass in the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, AK, because remember we did this with Bradford when we drafted Wentz, and then the last minute we made the change and traded Bradford. Right, but
the difference
we don't have
with
that
was though. Yeah, that's gonna say the difference with that is you drafted Carson Wentz number 2 overall, and he went out there and he had a really, really impressive preseason, and you just got Sam Bradford standing in his way, who you already kind of knew what Sam Bradford was. And I think you went out there and saw a lot more than what you probably bargained for from Carson Wentz in that preseason. And he went out and he took that spot. It was like the same thing with Russell Wilson. He came in, he was like, what, a 4th-round draft pick, 3rd-round draft pick, whatever he was. Yep. And the Seahawks had just signed Matt Flynn that offseason to a big contract to be their starting quarterback. But Russell Wilson was so impressive that it was just like, you know what? We got to do what we got to do that's better for this football team. And Matt Flynn was making all that money to be a backup quarterback for a season, until he finally got released from Seattle. So, I mean, I think the situation is a little bit different because, Tyrod Taylor's reputation is not that of, like, Russell Wilson or even at that time Carson Wentz, you know what I mean? So, I think it's just a lot different situation here, and I think like Adam's been saying, the Giants are going to allow Daniel Jones to sink or swim on his own.
I think Coach Ed has some interesting stuff here. All right, I'll have to look that up. I don't want to verify or deny anything. I'm just throwing out that somebody said that, and you're confirming what I heard. But again, I want to make sure just to give you guys the right information to not be like, well, and then all of a sudden you watch the game like, well, that guy on the NFC East Round-Up, he said they're going to play a quarter. They only played a series, because that's what happens here. You got the people. They every word they hang on, right? If I compared Daniel Jones to Joe Montana, oh my God, what are you doing? It's not Joe Montana. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you got to listen to what we're saying. But listen, that's the Giants of New England. Good test out the gate. A team that's going to be well coached, well disciplined, and have their stuff buttoned up on first, second, and third teams, right? So it's going to be a good test for them to see.
But I get it. I get to say hi to Joe Judge too while they up there.
High five him on the way.
See you never.
How was that beer? How was that beer pizza party that we weren't invited to? The fans would have loved to have gone. I would have loved to have some free pizza at Joe Judge's house. Probably would have told them off after a couple beers. Like,
how the file cabinets are.
I wanted to see what the file cabinets look like, man. Like, hey, man, thanks to the Keurig, thanks to the filing cabinets. Nice job.
Holy cow.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Any other expectations? Anything else you want to see? Like any specific position or group that you wanted to? What's going on, Authentic? Anything else you wanted to see from this game, particularly?
Well, I want to see the safety play, the backup safety, Yusuf Corker. I want to see who he's doing, how he's gonna fare. I'm interested in seeing Richie James. You know, he's getting a lot of hype around camp. So I'd like to see if he's one of those practice players or if he's an actual player that's going to show up and show out for us in the receiving game. And then the last thing is, can I get a tight end sighting? I mean, Ricky Seals-Jones, where the hell are you? Are you in witness protection? Are you what are you doing? Are you checking the file cabinets for Joe Judge? What is going on in the world of Ricky Seals-Jones? They did an interview on Talking Giants. Shout out to Bobby Skinner and Justin Pennick on Talking Giants. They did an interview with Dan Duggan, and they asked this question, and they're like, we don't even see him on the facility. Like, we don't even see him anywhere. And I'm like, you don't see him nowhere? Like, you don't see him, like, anywhere? Like, he's like, nope, we don't see him. We don't talk about him. It's like, all right. So what is this guy going to do? Just show up and walk through the door and be like, hey, I'm here, guys. Haven't taken a rep, but I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's not looking good for him, because if you're not here by the first preseason game, and this is something people may want to look out for, guys who don't play in the first preseason game or injured are most likely not going to make the club the further along we get in this process. Okay, if Ricky Seals-Jones is not there for Cincinnati next week, and then come Jet game, he's not there, he's not making this team, or he'll be put on IR. Right? I mean, we can't have guys. Go ahead.
One thing these players got to keep in mind this season. This preseason is going to be a little different than the last couple. Last couple of years, it's just been every team been playing out the whole preseason with their full 90-man roster and just had a big, massive cut at the end of preseason. This year, it's going to be cuts throughout the preseason. So, you know what I mean? You got to show and prove with your opportunities, right, every opportunity you get. And Ricky Seals-Jones, I just haven't heard his name not nearly enough.
Richie James, I hope he gets the punt returning duties. I'd like to see somebody that doesn't just fair catch a ball back there. I mean, you got Sterling Shepard who doesn't do anything. You didn't put Tony back there for whatever reason last year. I guess you were punishing him. This is for not showing up to camp. Like, you know, sometimes you just got to play your talented players. And a lot of guys make their name on special teams. That's how they do it. A lot of guys across the league, because you draft a player and he's not up to speed with the playbook. Well, get him on the field. That's another thing I hated about Joe Judge last year, was he was too busy worried about punishing players and not putting them on. Your freaking team is losing and you're worried about punishing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, he threw out Kadarius Toney for punching a guy in the head. He should have been thrown out and gotten punched in the head, because there was no fight in that team. The only guy fighting on that team was him, and you throw him out.
That was, like I said, that's why I'm glad we've gotten away from that era. I'm glad we've moved on. That's why I want to see what this team can do on the field, man, on Thursday night tomorrow, man. I got to see this product on the field and know what we're working with and have a little baseline of what we really can expect from this team.
Before we move on to the one team, I want to answer AK's question. Do you think these guys, these young receivers, will have the force the owner to trade Galladay before the trade deadline? Is he stuck here? Is he stuck there? I don't think that they're established enough to make that call yet. If let's say Richie James was a second-year vet and he had a good season last year, and he's coming in this year and you expect bigger things, I can see that. With the injuries to Shepard, with Tony nursing a knee injury, I think right now you got to keep Galladay, and then maybe in the offseason is when you trade him. Revisit that trade talk. Right now, I don't. The only reason two ways the Giants trade everybody is they're just absolutely caca, right? They're just shitting the bed. You know, they look like what your newborn is pooping out every week, right? Or and in that point, you want to get rid of the guys because you're not doing anything, so you just want to get some value for them. That's one. If they're doing well, they're not going to want to do it for this reason. if they're doing well and you trade Galladay, let's say for hypothetical purposes, and all of a sudden the team starts to flounder or your quarterback starts to fall off, and he does fall off and he stinks, they're going to be like, well, why'd you get rid of an all-star caliber receiver, and then this guy stinks? So what I think they're going to do is they're going to basically wait till either Daniel Jones gets injured or if the entire team is absolute trash, is when they'll decide to say, hey, let's make that trade. If they're in, like we had a discussion this afternoon, I think Pat from Big Pat brought it up. He said if the Giants like 4-4 and after 8, then there's going to be a remaining 10 games that are going to be fun, right? Remaining 9 games. If the Giants are 3-5 or 2-6, you might as well at that point start to think about moving on from some guys, because the probability is you're probably not making the playoffs, right?
I mean, I just think Galladay specifically with that contract is going to make him a pretty difficult trade anyway, regardless right now, because his production is not matching that contract, and who's going to want to take that thing on? So that right now is probably the biggest problem for Galladay right now anyway. He's going to have to get back up to that Pro Bowl level receiving that he was doing in Detroit
and there's got to be somebody that's desperate. You might have to negotiate where we'll eat the rest of his contract or something. It's got to be like either he's like a malcontent and he's having meltdowns everywhere, right? And he's causing more drama than need be. Or the team is doing absolutely dog shit, but he's playing well, so you're going to get something for him. Or like we said, the team is doing well, but you want to have some assets. That's the only way you can get rid of him, right? Malcontent, he's even playing well. Because if he's not playing well, no one's going to be like, hey, yeah, well, I'll give you a 5th-round pick for that crappy receiver. No, they're going to be like, what are we doing? Now, if a team like Kansas City or Green Bay or something like that needs a receiver, that'll put him over the top, right? Maybe you say, Aaron, you call up Green Bay and say, hey, you know what? We got Kenny Galladay here, who's better than all your receivers combined. Maybe you want to take him and put your team over the top. But it has to be the right. It doesn't necessarily have to be the right offer. It has to be the right team.
I agree, man. Any last final thoughts on this Giant Patriot matchup?
No, I think we talked enough about the lowly team from New York. We can move on to the other scrubs in the NFC East.
Well, on Philadelphia Eagles will be meeting up with them New York Jets. And this, I don't have much expectations, obviously, for any of the rest of these games we're going to be talking about here. But I am interested in these teams, obviously. So, I mean, Jets had a good offseason, man. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of product they're going to be putting on the field from a football fan standpoint. But the Philadelphia Eagles, man, a couple of things I want to look at from them is I want to see this connection, man, with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. I don't know how much of, if any, we're going to see.
You mean Bernie Mac? I am calling A.J. Brown Bernie Mac from now on. That is my name for him. When he comes to town, I'm be like, it's going to be Eagles and Bernie coming to town. Bernie Mac.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. I'm curious to see that situation, see that connection, see how they developed as a unit right now. They're getting on the same page because, like I said, Jalen Hurts, great athlete, man. He did a lot of special things with his legs in particular last year, but he definitely needs to develop as a passer of the football. When you keep him contained in that pocket, he's got to prove that he can beat teams with his arm as well. So just got to see. I don't, like I said, I don't even know what the kind of plan the Eagles have going into that game as far as playing time for their starters, but those are the things I'll be looking for.
Well, I want to see that connection, but I don't know how long they're going to play, to be honest with you. So we won't really get to see that unless they're force feeding certain things. For the Eagles, what I want to see is their depth pieces, guys like Jordan Davis, the young draft pick, to see what he can do, while he's there. I also want to see what Nakobe Dean can do, right? That type of player coming out. I also like to see what their lineup is and how I know James Bradbury is really helping them out. I think the Giants, are going to bite themselves this season when it comes to James Bradbury because they gave up a good one. It's a shame they couldn't work out a deal for this player, but another man's junk is another man's treasure, and the treasure is going to the Philadelphia Eagles right now. as he has not only done well in camp, but he's really brought a difference to this defense, right? Last year, Darius Slay was the number one guy, and they tended to go to the other side. Now, you can't go to either side. You know what I mean? And it's going to force you to kind of figure out a way to beat this team. And this team's defense last year was pretty feisty. You add Jordan Davis, you add Nakobe Dean, and then you still have Hargraves, you still have Brandon Graham, you have Derek Barnett, you still have Fletcher Cox. You're going to have a lot of a lot of guys. You know, you're going to have a lot of players. So this preseason game for the Eagles is a little different than the Giants. See, because the Eagles went to the playoffs last year, they know what the bar is for their team. They're not ushering in a new system. They're not ushering in new players per se in the way that the Giants are doing. They already know their roles, right? And right now, to me, Jalen Hurts, you know, of the interviews I've listened to him, I don't know what to expect. You know, I know he's trying to put in the work, and we'll see if it translates on the field. You know, there are some things that I worry about that kind of just in his personality a little bit that may lead to some distractions, but we'll see what he can do. There's no excuses for this guy anymore, and we'll see. Hopefully, in their 2 series that they play, you can see a little sprinkle of what they've been talking about, right? A little bit of the continuity, a little bit of the swagger that they have, but mostly you'll be seeing the second and third team, and it'll be good. It'll be a good test because the Jets are an up and coming team, and they have a lot of young guys as well that will push the Eagles to see what they can do, right? The first preseason game is dress rehearsal, but mostly it's for the backup players.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the matchup being a pretty fun matchup for the Eagles to get their preseason kicked off. Like you said, I mean, the Jets, to me, in my opinion, have had one of the better off seasons, at least on paper. This offseason, they had an excellent draft. I feel like they're a well-coached football team. I think they totally believe in what Robert Saleh is bringing over there, and I'm a believer in Zach Wilson this year. I think that kid is going to turn around and start emerging into star level.
I agree with you there. I think he's got all the traits.
Absolutely.
I think he's got all the traits that you're looking for. I know a lot of people are worried about him and his MILF hunter syndrome. You know, that's good. Maybe hunting MILFs is what you need. Maybe that could be the magic elixir that Sam Darnold didn't have. Sam Darnold's getting mono from college girls. You know, Zach Wilson is hanging with the sophisticated crowd, right? Hanging with tennis moms, soccer moms. Maybe that's the elixir. But no, all kidding aside, I really do think that Zach Wilson has a lot of the talent, and you'll see it come out this season. I think, like I said, good test for the Jets. It's the annual Jets-Eagles game. When I was a kid, you couldn't tell them apart. At one point, it was like that. Thank God the Eagles changed jerseys, because when you watched them from afar, if you had blurred vision, you would think the same team is playing the same team, but they aren't. So Philly is here. We'll see them. You know, that game's on Friday. Probably be broadcast in my area. So I'll probably get a nice look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sure the content creators will give their opinion. So we're going to know more about this team going forward. But for a first preseason game, you couldn't ask for a better test this time around.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, like you said, this Eagles defense, I think, has a potential, honestly, to be special this season, and I want you to get to see right out the door, man. A team that's put together, like I said, the Jets have put together a nice little unit, at least on paper. So in the preseason, the Jets are the kind of those teams that are going to go get at it too, because they got a lot to prove, and they've been the laughing stock for long enough as well. So they're going to come out ready to play. I'm assuming intense. I don't know anything that's going on in Jets camp right now, but I haven't heard anything negative, so that's all.
Well, Jets camp, they seem to be doing pretty well. This is what I'm talking about. He has stacked pretty good days together. He had a pretty decent, green and white scrimmage. There aren't the question marks that they have, because I think they're doing things right with both teams on both quarterbacks, right? Both the Jets and the Eagles, right? They're both doing things for their quarterbacks, and knowing that that's the mark of how you can win is by building for your young quarterback and hoping the things that you put together allow them to make it to the level that you want them to be at, and that's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, right? And for the, I know this is the NFC East roundup, but the Jets, we have to talk about them a little bit because they are going to be a part of this litmus test, because we're going to be measuring quarterbacks across the league with our starter, right? That's just how you do it.
Absolutely.
And if the guy in green looks better than the guy in blue, both green quarterbacks look like better than the guy in blue, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it not only from the fan base, but from the national media. So I think it's a really big deal for these guys. Two teams in different spots, though. Remember, Jets are still, I can see the Jets not playing their starters if they wanted to because they're in the system. And the Eagles went to the playoffs last year. They're trying to build on that momentum. They brought in a lot of guys here. They really want to try out some of the depth pieces. You're going to see a lot of Jordan Davis. You're going to see a lot of Nakobe Dean in this game. We're really going to see if their skill sets can translate to the NFL.
And for what it's worth, it's been mixed reviews from things I've been hearing about Nakobe Dean and Eagles camp, but I believe in the talent I saw at the University of Georgia, man. Nakobe Dean is an absolute gamer, and I believe on game day he's going to always be ready, man. And I still believe, I stay strong by what I said earlier, that the Eagles got an absolute steal in the draft when they were able to get Nakobe Dean in the third round?
Third round.
I believe it was. Absolutely insane that he was still on the board in the third round.
And I agree with you there. And I think the ups and downs you're seeing are just rookie growing pains. Going from Georgia, and coming into the NFL program, guys are faster, and this is what I talk about with practice, right? You go from college, you're playing guys who may or may not be on your team. You have 90 guys you can play. So you can technically field an actual football team against an actual football team, right? And those guys are like third stringers. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, Nakobe Dean is now playing guys who are been in the NFL, understand tendencies, know what they're looking for, and that's what really you start to see in this team going forward, is how he can read and react, process things. It's not about August 11th or August 12th or whatever it is. It's about 9/11. What will he give you on 9/11?
I mean, that's what it's all about, man. And like I said, Dean's a player. Jordan Davis, like Jeff said, is a grown-ass man. And that's just think Fletcher Cox, and then they can throw, and then Fletcher Cox, when he needs to blow, they're throwing Jordan Davis at you. Like, come on, man. That's a lot. The Eagles, like I said, I hate talking nice about the Eagles, man. I really, really do. It pains me, but this team.
Wow, look at that, 13-4. I thought we were crazy at 11-6. This guy goes 13-4.
I said, you guys, man. I respect the things y'all have done, but this is a bit much, bro. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you're losing 2 to the New York Football Giants. That's just the way I feel about it right now.
Shots fired.
We owe y'all so many ass whoopings that we might as well get started with the 2 this year and get some of that get back. I'm just saying. So.
Oh man, we went 4-5 in the division, and we're having delusions of grandeur now.
But now, all bullshit aside, man, I do like what the Eagles have done all this offseason. I've been saying it all offseason. I hate the Eagles, but
it's because I like AK that I'm not cursing out the Eagles right now. You know what I mean? Because I like him. I like the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? But if deep down inside, the Giant fan occasionally wants to come out and go, "Fuck the guys from the down I-95." Okay, but being that we were the reverse record of 13-4, we were 4-13. I really don't have much of a leg to stand on. So.
I mean, I'm just gonna always defend my boys tooth and nail, man. You can't just, you gotta. I just gotta let you know, man. You talking that 13-4, and you got two coming from you from New York. I mean, so I don't know. Unless you're gonna just go only lose 2 more games by season everybody else, that'd be all business. But you're losing 2 when you see New York. I'm just telling you right now. That's how I feel this season.
Write that down. So 2 of your 4 losses are coming from the New York Giants, who may not be in the playoffs. Good luck with that.
But even if y'all the only 2 games we win, I'll be all right with that. Not really, but I like beating the Eagles.
Oh man, love it. This is why you get to the NFC East Roundup. You get a little trash talk every once in a while. But let's move on to the other team other two teams in this division that we have to talk about, unless you have more to talk about with Philadelphia.
I really don't. I gave them enough props for one segment of a show.
Yeah,
so
enough praise.
They don't need
I'm tired of that.
They don't need any more.
Yeah,
And
let's move
on Saturday, we got a Saturday afternoon. We got the Washington Commanders taking on another team that's on the New York Football Giants schedule, the Carolina Panthers. Another interesting preseason matchup, man. Two teams with some new things going on in their organizations this off season. Had some new moves. Carson Wentz, obviously.
Look, I didn't say 11-6.
Taking over as quarterback.
Don't put that on me. I said 7 wins. There's some people in Giant Nation who want to believe 11-6, and hey, I can't blame them. I can't blame them for doing that. But
But yeah, interesting. I mean, both these teams, man, making some quarterback movements this offseason. Washington Commanders, obviously adding Carson Wentz, who is
that a USFL team? Commanders?
People can feel any way they want about Carson Wentz, but he is an established starter in this league. He was nearly MVP of this league just about 4 years ago, and I'm just a believer in that talent doesn't just completely just go away just like that in a few years. I just believe in the talent of Carson Wentz enough to know that is a major upgrade at quarterback for the Washington Commanders. And on the Carolina standpoint, they got then brought Baker Mayfield in there into the fold in their quarterback room, and you got two guys, him and Sam Darnold, that were number 1 and number 3, I believe, overall pick in the same exact draft back in 2018.
Yeah, that must be a fun conversation.
So,
hey man, I'm here to take your job. Can you teach me the offense?
Interesting quarterback room. That's an interesting quarterback room right there. But so
we thought the Malik Willis. We thought the Malik Willis, Ryan Tannehill dynamic was off. This one's got to be pretty awkward when you walk in there like, hey, Baker, how are you? Hey, Sam, how you doing? I'm here to steal your job. Tell me everything you know. You know what I mean?
Pat, man, at this point, I don't know how it's going on with their camps looking like down there, obviously, but a while back we did on another stream, we were doing some predictions, and I had picked Matt Corral to be the offensive rookie of the year. That was before they brought Baker Mayfield into the fold, obviously, because I did originally think Matt Corral was going to beat Sam Darnold out, but now I think Baker Mayfield adds a little extra wrinkle there, and I know it's the things I've been hearing out of things I have heard is that it's not been looking so great for Baker Mayfield and Panther camp, but I believe that when it's all said and done, he will probably be their week 1 starter, even though
it can't be worse
than right there on standby.
I mean, they got him at July, the training camp start. So let's be real. He hasn't been there since April or May or June and with the OTA, right? So yes, he has to have. You rather have his growing pains come out now than have his growing pains come out the season. So let's see where he's at when coming the season. As for Matt Corral, I know this NFC East Roundup. Somehow we got to the NFC South, but. As for Matt Corral, I think he'll be a starter if this season derails quickly for them, right? Meaning, if the Panthers come in and they start to shit the bed every game and starting to look bad, that's when, to me, I'll say, hey, put the rookie in now and see what you want, because at that point, Matt Rule's going to know he's going to get fired anyways. Might as well see what he's got. And Ben McAdoo, we'll see what he can do with quarterbacks. He really liked Patrick Mahomes coming out of the draft that year, and we ended up taking Davis Webb instead. Smart move on our part. But, hey, things happen for a reason. But getting back to the Commanders, what you're saying is correct. Carson Wentz doesn't have to be great here. And, I mean, the numbers that he put up, 3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, we'd be raving if that was Daniel Jones' number. We'd be like, oh, my God, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe Daniel Jones threw for 3,500 yards. Oh, my God, this is great. You know what I mean? Give me a damn break. Okay? This guy just has to be competent. That's all they have to do. These quarterbacks have to be game managers at best. Don't fuck it up. Ron Rivera's going to go to Carson. Hey, Carson, we're 3rd and 5. Don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? Don't try to throw your boneheaded plays and do your whirling dervishes and try to do your spinneroonies, and try to get the ball downfield. Just do what people do. Take what the defense gives you. 5 yards in a cloud of dust. Just be competent. And if he executes that competently, then I can see the talent rising to the top. And arguably, he could be the best quarterback in this division. Now, people are going to argue with me about it, but no other quarterback in this division has had the MVP talk in their respective names. Carson Wentz, whether you like it or not.
Late in the season anyway. I mean, Dak got off to a really hot start early in the
year.
He
fizzles off anyways. But you know, Carson Wentz was having an MVP caliber season till he blew out his knee, right? And I think that changed the dynamic of who he is. And with the Colts, I think it was supposed to be instant gratification. And because he had a couple of boneheaded things and there was probably some flare-ups in the locker room is why he's gone. Now here in Washington, this is his last shot. There's not going to be another starting job after this.
No, I mean, if he goes here and somehow it doesn't work out, I believe he's going to start trending down to where teams might want to bring him in as a backup at that point. You're right. Here. I think his opportunities. I mean, they're going to start to dwindle, man. He has to make the most of this chance in Washington right now. But I think
highlight Jeff's comment.
I mean, Terry McLaurin is probably going to be the best receiver he's had to throw the ball to in a few years. So,
and that's what Jeff is saying.
Maybe even his whole damn career. Oh, I didn't even really know this comment.
I mean, he didn't have great receivers in Philadelphia, and let's be honest, in Indianapolis, there weren't the studs that they came in with. They had Zach Pascal, they had Michael Pittman come in. You know, those guys weren't the guys they have now. So for him, he not only has Terry McLaurin, but he also has the kid that they got from Penn State. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Jahan Dotson.
Jahan
Dotson, who was
doing pretty well
training camp.
They have Curtis Samuel, who is their gadget player. So 3 receivers right off the bat are pretty good. Then you have Logan Thomas, who's not a bad receiver. Their offensive line, isn't great, but it isn't the worst I've seen in the league. So it's not like he's dealing with a lot of bad things. I know a lot of people are worried about, you could say that you could say the same thing about Daniel Jones, about struggling in training. There are differences between Carson Wentz struggling and a Daniel Jones struggle. Carson Wentz has at least put something out there.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say. But another thing also you got to remember about this Washington Commanders team is that this defense is capable as well of being a top 10 defense in the league. They know they fell off a little bit last year with the Chase Young injuries and the secondary wasn't as good as they would have hoped. But this team is more than capable of being a top 10 defense, and that's also a game changer for this team. And that will also help Carson Wentz as well from a field position standpoint. They can create turnovers and just keep continuing to keep giving Carson Wentz short fields, man. So that's another thing you got to watch out for this Washington team. I think people's not talking nearly enough about it, to be quite frank, that a couple of years ago this Washington defense was downright scary. And I know, like I said, it just fell off a bit last year, but this defense is still very capable. So got to keep an eye on that as well going forward with this Washington Commander football team.
And I love that you said that, because I respect Ron Rivera and what he's going to do. This team went to the playoffs with a 7-8 record, or 7 whatever record it was a few years ago, and because their quarterback was not competent, they ended up losing that game to Tampa Bay, eventually winning the Super Bowl. And then last year, Tyler Heineke, they tried to go with, and obviously that didn't work out. They won 6 games, and so now you're bringing Carson Wentz, and that's an instant 2-game upgrade over Tyler Heineke. So they might be fighting with the Giants with an 8-9 or 9-8 kind of season, and that could be good enough to either win the division or get into the playoffs. Who knows? But I just can't throw it out there. And like Jeff said, Antonio Gibson's a pretty good running back. Their defense is not bad, okay? And we'll see what happens going forward. Jack Del Rio, they obviously like Jack Del Rio on their staff, right? The players got behind him during that little controversy that he had early on, So for me, this team is flying under the radar right now. They had a lot going on with the scandals, which I don't know what the hell is going on with that, with their owners and the cheerleaders and a lot of scandalous stuff. But somehow they've made it this far. And we've just got to see. Like, I don't want people to say, well, we're going to beat the Commanders as Giants because we beat them every year. Well, guess what? Last year we lost a close game to a Commanders team. And then in MetLife Stadium, I think against the Commanders, it might have been Philadelphia, is where we ran the 3rd and 9 twice. The 2nd and 9. Could have been against Philly. I think it was against the Redskins, if I'm not mistaken, is where we ran the double quarterback sneaks. So they beat us twice as well. So, let's just pump the brakes here. Let's see how it plays out, because you never know what a change of scenery could do for a guy.
Yeah, and just real quick to touch on Coach Ed's comment when he had a comment up there about the scandals. I think that is a fair point with this Washington team. I think that does kind of can affect the players, because I can't speak. I don't know what they're showing up to work. Sometimes you had the people out there picketing whatever they do, protesting some of the things, because this is the day and age we live in. People believe strongly about certain things, and who knows what these players sometimes show up with and other things they're dealing with behind the scenes that us fans wouldn't have any idea about that they're even dealing with. So maybe that could be an issue, part of what's be going on with Washington. But at the same time, at the end of the day, when you get on that field, it's just time to strap up and play football, and you got everything, let everything else go, man. And for 60 minutes, man, just go out there and ball out with your brothers, man. So at the end of the day, the cream always rises to the top, man. I still do believe this Washington Commanders team has a potential to shake things up in this NFC East division this year, and I wouldn't count them out, man. I think Carson Wentz really kind of is an X factor player for them this year. That could potentially put this team over the top. I think they are a well coached football team. Ron Rivera, in my opinion, is the best coach in this division, the most established head coach in this division, and I just believe that this Washington team can make some noise on the low. Just can't sleep on them.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because I think the Commanders have the two easier games on their schedule. I know people don't talk about schedule, but if you were to put everyone's schedule up against theirs, they could easily be 2-0 headed into Philly in week 3, right? And that game could kind of be a big game, because who knows? Are the Eagles 1-2, 0-2, 2-0? Same thing with the Giants and Cowboys. But for me, if the Redskins come out to a 2-0 start, that could favor them. And with an NFC East that we all know is not the greatest, getting a good start out the gate could help them later on as injuries hit and as certain things crop up during the season.
But you have any more thoughts on this Washington Commanders football team before we can get ready to?
Outside of their uniforms being the crappiest in the NFL, no, I do not. And who wants a big W on the side of your helmet, anyways? I mean, my God.
I thought, they could have gave them some kind of new cool logo
or something. Commanders, like, what is that? Have a
Browns have nothing
put a tank on their shit. That's what I would have done. Put a tank on the side of their helmet. That would have been a badass thing. You could have called them the Washington Tanks, because that's probably what they're going to do anyways if they don't get to the playoffs. They're going to tank and be a terrible team. Here comes the fanhood in me. I'm trying to be a biased content creator, but sometimes the fanhood gets the best of me.
But my one last thought on this Washington team, Carson Wentz specifically. I think most of his issues are just strictly in his own head, to be quite frank, mental more than physical. I think Carson Wentz can still get out there and he can sling it and play with the best of them, man. I think all his issues are totally in his head. I think that last year in Philly just got him looking over his shoulder constantly now, and I think he has to get out of his own head and go out there. And like I just said before, man, for 60 minutes on Sunday, get out there with your brothers, man. Let it all go, man, and and show everybody why he was once a number 2.
I mean, they love him. They love him down there. He's changed their whole offense. He's been able to make throws that allow them to get Terry McLaurin open deep. So, we may sit here and laugh at them, but they may be a totally different offense with him at the helm. So I just want people to realize, we laugh at Carson Wentz and his plights, but at one point, this guy was highly regarded in the NFL.
Absolutely, and you can't ever forget that. So there is one more preseason game on the docket for these NFC East division I believe this is also Saturday night in prime time.
Oh, great.
Dallas
They even get
Cowboys,
primetime games in preseason.
America's teams allegedly
Allegedly.
taking on
In the
the
60s,
Denver,
in the 60s, okay? In the friggin' 60s. We need to get rid of that mantra right now. We need to. I am putting a decree out there right now. They are not America's team anymore. 1960s, when you had Roger Staubach and the good-looking quarterback, and he played for the Marines, and he was part of the Marines. Okay, he was America's team then. Let's fast forward to the year 2022. They are America's butt of every joke. Okay, they haven't won a playoff game since 1996. Okay, 1996. I'm tired of them talking about it. The last game they played in the playoffs, they got beaten by the Carolina Panthers.
The Cowboys, man.
In 1996, we still talk about them.
Love Cowboys.
They're more like the Cowgirls, okay? All they do is complain. Jared Jones comes out every year and says, "Hey, everybody, we're the Dallas Cowboys. I bought this beautiful stadium. We're always going to be contenders. Come visit my museum. Come see our stadium. We've got the biggest on-screen video board ever, and we're always going to the Super Bowl. I don't care what my son says. I still make the decisions around here." Okay? That's Jerry Jones. All right. He's probably in his yacht right now listening to this podcast like, that damn Adam fucking Costas. He's an idiot. What does he know? Okay. What does he know? He's going to send me tickets to the NFC Championship game. So, here you go, Adam. And I'm going to just burn him up in front of Jerry Jones live on YouTube.
But yeah, some of the bigger storylines coming out of the Dallas camp so far heading into this preseason game is obviously Zeke's role expected maybe to be a little more limited in this Cowboy offense this year. And obviously some of their issues with their wide receivers, a lot of injuries in the wide receiver department. So
paging wide receivers needed in aisle 6.
These Cowboys going into this opening preseason matchup against the Denver Broncos, who have also made some major changes this offseason.
I do.
Major change. That's why I said these are some pretty fun matchups for the opening week of preseason for these NFC East teams, man.
I mean, I don't think Denver's going to play anybody because they're losing receivers left and right. I mean, you talk about the Cowboys having a bad receiving core, so does Denver. But hey, Dallas, I have a guy for you. His name is Darius Slayton. You're more than welcome to throw us a conditional 5th or 4th round pick to help out your receiving core. He's not the brightest guy. He may drop a few balls on you, but hey, he's on the market, and he will be featured in the preseason, so you may get a good look at him. So, Cowboys, if you're listening, Jerry, if you're listening out there, you can always call up the New York Giants to get your new receiver, and you can have a press conference and say, well, we stole him from New York, and we think he's the best thing ever. That's why we're bringing him in here. I'm Jerry Jones. Thank you very much.
Jerry Jones is awesome, man. Jerry Jones' impression is great.
But no, to be real, for the Cowboys, I don't think you're going to see much of Zeke. You're probably going to get his feet wet. Same thing with Tony Pollard. This will be a game more or less of showcasing the backups, Cooper Rush, and all those other bums that they have out there playing out on that team. I think with the Cowboys here, though, it's a big season because you want to talk about turmoil. This team has had their drama play out in the national media, right? The coach being asked about being fired. I mean, what idiot asked you that question? Probably should be fired by the media. Well, is your job on the line? Is your job on the line? I mean, who asked that dumbass question? So there's a lot of drama going on between a lot of these teams. That's why I think maybe the Cowboys need to get off to a better start than anybody else because of the turmoil that is going on behind the closed doors. Like if they start out with Tampa Bay, who this morning we had a discussion about Tampa Bay losing their receivers and tight ends and a lot of injuries happening to that ball club, does that give the Cowboys a chance to win those games? And the answer is yes. In a game that we thought they probably wouldn't have a chance in, now they have a chance, right? And so if they go 1-1 the Cowboys may be on their way. If they're 0-2 heading into that Week 3 game, that's a game if I'm Giant fans, I'd be concerned about, because I do not want to play a desperate Cowboy team with Mike McCarthy and everyone's basically job on the line. Dan Quinn, Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, job on the line. You want the Cowboys to have a win or two coming in, because it'll be a little easier. I wouldn't say easier, but the mindset is like, all right, it's a divisional game against a team that's not as desperate to win a game. We can steal one at home, blah, 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 as opposed to a team that's going to be desperate, basically at of sorts and needs something.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. You definitely don't want to see a desperate Cowboy team coming to MetLife Week 3.
One thing that will help is that Dallas's offense is playing Tony Pollard all year round. Yes, he could be a big threat being moved all over their offense scheme. I agree with you, Jeff. Tony Pollard, I think people aren't underestimating. I think he's the reason why we're talking about Ezekiel Elliott's role being diminished is because the role we think is going to be increased by Tony Pollard. I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who does everything, he pass blocks, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can run between the tackles, he's got breakaway speed, he does basically all of it. And for me, he's one of the key components of the Cowboys doing well.
But here's my thing with that. That's where I've been coming with my Ezekiel Elliott takes this off season, man. I think that's going to help Ezekiel Elliott go out there with a chip on his shoulder, feeling like, wait a minute, I'm the man. This is my position. Like in the program when Omar had stepped in the room, I'm the starting running back. This is, and I think I don't want to be facing Ezekiel Elliott who's feeling like he's got something to prove, because we already know what this man is capable of, man. And I don't want to see him all that feeding himself, scoring touchdowns on our account, especially. You know what I mean? 'Cause I just believe that Ezekiel Elliott is all this hype around Tony Pollard is gonna really really fuel Ezekiel Elliott to go out there and make the most of each and every touch he does get whenever he gets them, no matter how limited or big, how small or big his role is. And I really believe that Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a big year because of it. I think all this Tony Pollard chatter is going to just lead to a big year from Ezekiel Elliott. I just believe in that.
Maybe you're right
as well.
Maybe you're right. Motivation has a weird effect on people, all right? And it's not just us talking about him. It's the national media as well. So, we'll see. Maybe he has a chip on his shoulder. Maybe he wants to come out and, prove the league wrong, right? Because, they did give him all this money. They did make him one of the highest paid running backs in the league, for a reason. And if we're talking about Carson Wentz finding a groove, why can't this guy find a groove, right? Why can't Ezekiel Elliott find his natural ability? So let's look what he had. Last year he had 1,000 yards, which again isn't saying much because that's not a lot to do in 17 games, but he did have 10 touchdowns. So now, that was pretty decent on less attempts than the year before. So he can still produce. And I think because of the problems at receiver, the problems they have with their injury guys waiting for Gallup to come back and things like that, they're going to lean on their running backs a little bit more to kind of offset some of that missing link. You know what I mean?
I mean, I definitely agree, man. I definitely agree. And on the defensive side of things, man, look, Jeff, I hear what you're saying here, man, but I think they can look at all the film they want on Micah Parsons, and you got to go out there and get the job done. You got to stop him, and that's a lot, to ask anybody at this point. I think Micah Parsons proved that he's an absolute stud a year ago, and I don't see his play declining very much at all this year unless the Cowboys absolutely use him completely the wrong way.
If you look at Ezekiel Elliott's numbers, right, his first year he played 15 games, had 1,600 yards, right? The second year he played 10 games, had 983 yards, right? The next year after that, he ran again for 1,400 yards. Okay, the next year in 2019, he had 1,300 yards. 2020, he's had 979 yards, and this year he had 1,002 yards. Every season his career average is 4.5 yards a carry. Okay, so 4.5 yards a carry is pretty good. You don't just throw that away and turn that off. Okay, Is he the greatest receiver in the game? No, I think that's what limits him. If you look at his pass catching, he had 47 receptions, 287 yards, a 6.1 average. His longest is 21 yards.
Yeah.
So he lacks in the receiving game. But what he lacks in the receiving game, he makes up for in running people over. You know what I mean?
Tendency to put it on the ground too. Sometimes he does have a slight ball security issue.
But I think this year, let's see what happened. He got extended. I think they extended him last season, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to look. Oh, they picked up his 5th-year option, and then it was $50 million guaranteed. Oh, then he signed a 6-year deal in 2019 worth up to $90 million with $50 million guaranteed. So he is 3 years into that 6-year, a couple years into that deal. So he needs to be able to overcome. And then last year he also injured his PCL ligament, right? It cropped up in the wild card game, and he played with it all year. So if he's fully healthy, maybe we can expect a different Ezekiel Elliott. I agree with the Tony Pollard assessment, but I also looked at what Max said, and I can't just write a guy off. You never know what motivation does to a man.
I mean, that's what I'm basing. I mean, I'm just basing it on the competitor, like the competitiveness of this game, man. Like I said, I obviously never played at the NFL level, but I played enough football, man, to know what like you said, motivation, competition, good competition can do for you, man. And everybody keeps telling you about how great Tony Pollard. He keeps hearing, and I'm sure he supports his teammate fully, no doubt about that. Anyway, but that's still a guy that's standing in your way, that's taking touches away from you. And I believe Zeke Elliott is going to use that as motivation to fuel his fire, and he's going to go out there and make the most of every touch, man. And I just think he could be poised to have a big year. That's just my opinion. That's the way I think, the way my mind works. I just believe in the talent of Ezekiel Elliott, and I feel like he's going to be very motivated to go out there and have a big year and let everybody know who is the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys.
And I want to go to the other side of the ball because I know Jeff mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence. This team has a decent defense. I know people don't want to talk about it, but they have a decent defense led by their defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. He's a guy that has been to the Super Bowl with other teams, has had Super Bowl defenses with the Legion of Boom. Okay, so now you still have DeMarcus Lawrence, who might be playing well, and a guy who's going to fly under the radar in Dante Fowler. I know people may not like him, but, I can see him going to the Cowboys and doing something. He's the type of guy that's a retread that can come in and play for, like, the Cowboys and have a great year, right? He did pretty well with Atlanta, right? Atlanta with the Rams. He came into Jacksonville. He underachieved. Let's go. He didn't play because of injury. He had 4 sacks in 2016. And then he had 8 sacks again. And then 2018, he had 2 sacks and then was traded mid-year to L.A. where he had 2 sacks. And then he broke out and had 11.5 sacks. Then he went to Atlanta and had 3 sacks. He went to Atlanta again and had 4.5 sacks. And now you're going to put him on a team where he doesn't have to be the man, where he doesn't have to be the guy. And sometimes players like that, when they go to a team where they don't need to be the guy in the sack department, is where they blow up, right? Look, this is what I'm talking about. And they brought in, like Miz said, Anthony Barr, right? A guy who they can play with Van Der Esch and a couple of their other guys. And don't forget, they also had the defensive rookie of the year last year and Micah Parsons, okay, which they're going to use as a chess piece going forward. They're going to find your weakness in your defense. They're going to load that in your offense. They're going to load that guy up, right? If your weakness is the center, guess who's coming up the middle? Guess who's coming up the middle?
Absolutely.
Your tackle's weak.
That's why I said, the man.
Guess who's coming off the edge?
Grown-ass man. Michael Parsons is a stud. You don't have to sell me on Michael Parsons in any way, shape, or form.
I'm just saying to the people, like, I know we want to write this Cowboy team off, and they've got a lot going on for them, but they did win 12 games last year, okay? And they won it in a division that we deem not great, but how great do they have to be? 9, 10 wins? We did pick the Eagles at 11-6 as our prediction, but as the season goes forward, let's be real. Maybe 9 wins get you in.
I mean, another thing about this Cowboy defense, Jeff touched on a little earlier up in the chat, was Trayvon Diggs. Now, this guy did have I guess you have to still say he had a tremendous season with all those interceptions a year ago. But let's face it, man. he does get burnt a lot, like Jeff mentioned in the comment.
He get burned in practice,
and he if he's pretty much reliant on getting those interceptions, and I just can't see him duplicating that kind of production again.
What I can say is this:
year.
If the Cowboys create havoc on defense with their front seven, I can see him doing that same thing, being in the right place at the right time and plucking guys, plucking balls out of the air. But if the Cowboys are struggling and they are not doing well, it won't. You're going to see the warts exposed by Diggs.
That's fair enough. That's definitely fair enough, man. But yeah, Anthony Barr is good if he's still anywhere near the player he was a few years ago in Minnesota. Man, I think he may not quite be that guy anymore still, but he's still a good piece that they added to this defense. And once again, I mean, you got to all see it play out on the field. But the Dallas Cowboys right now, I think defensively, that's going to help keep them in a lot of games. And obviously, we know the capabilities of this offense, even though right now they're dealing with a lot of injuries at the wide receiver position. But we'll see. Like I always say, like I said earlier, the cream always rises to the top, man. This is going to be a fun division to watch, man. This is going to be a pretty fun little primetime preseason game. Hopefully you get to see the starters for at least a series on both teams. I don't know what you can really expect from these two teams. Like you said, Russell Wilson ain't got much to prove other than the fact that he's playing on a new team with a lot of new teammates. But I don't necessarily know if you're going to be rolling Russell Wilson out there.
I don't think Micah Parsons needs a mentor. I think if anything, Anthony Barr is going to get mentored by Micah Parsons. Say, hey, old man, this is how you play.
I mean, at this point, yeah, Micah Parsons, I would fully expect to see a C on that man's jersey this season. I just don't see any reason why he wouldn't get captain duties for that defense this year. That kid went out and just it was more than a splash a year ago. It was looking pretty damn special, and it just sickens me that to know that he could have been a New York Giant so easily.
What could have been
easily. But yeah, coulda, shoulda, and
we got Tony instead, the guy who apparently some beat reporters think is not in tune yet with the maturity level that comes with a player. We're going to find that out pretty soon if some of these rumors that we're hearing are true. And the worst thing is like if Michael Parsons goes on to have a Hall of Fame career and Kadarius Toney is out the league in 3 years, we're really going to be kicking ourselves.
I mean, how old is Kadarius Toney? About like what, 22, 23 years old, maybe? I don't know. So what, like that, something like around that. He's a young guy. He's a young guy in life still. He's a young man. He makes millions and millions of dollars. We get it. But I mean, he's still a 22, 23-year-old young man in life. So he's gonna have a little bit of fun. You can't expect him to be like mature like some 40-something-year-old guy walking around. I mean, let the kid have fun. As long as he's making plays on Sunday, let the kid live. He ain't out there doing nothing stupid. You don't hear him in the media out here beating up his girlfriend and all kinds of other craziness. Let the kid live. That's all I got to say about that.
The media he's a strange cat.
All crazy in narrative. The kid clearly has an eccentric personality. Let him have fun as long as he's getting the job done and he's showing up every day, working hard and making plays for the New York Giants. That's all that's going to matter. In my opinion,
at the end of the day, you're right. It doesn't matter. I don't really care what he does. I mean, you got one quarterback in Cleveland who's getting rub and tugs, all over the place, right? Meanwhile, our guy gets mad because he's out rapping when, by the way, the average NFL career is 3.5 years, and if it doesn't work out, you need a backup plan, and he's already got a backup plan. Now, if he is having maturity issues in terms of not wanting to learn the playbook or stay after, those things will come to fruition and come to light. But being mad about him not being able to be there, like, for example, if you guys watch Talking Giants, there's a guy on there named Dan Duggan, and he was going in. He went into saying that Kadarius Toney doesn't look engaged in certain aspects of practice. Now, I'm not going to get too concerned about it, but it is something I'm going to keep an eye out for and see if he does end up being one of those receivers that takes a play off if he's not getting the ball or kind of does that. Because at the end of the day, he was shopped for a reason. he was in that rumor mill for a reason. Whether it was to light a fire under his ass, whether it was leaked by Tony's agent, whether it was, put out there for whatever reason, it was put out there. And I can easily see them saying, enough is enough, we're letting him go.
I mean, if it comes down to that, but just right now, I just feel like the media always wants to stir a little something up, man, especially in New York, man. Like I said, if this kid was out there, like I said, doing crazy things, doing truly reckless things, then I'd understand, man. But if he's like I said, little 22-year-old kid, whatever, just out having fun like 22-year-old. When I was 22, I used to have fun. I mean, damn, I had more fun than I have now. I mean, that's you live your life then, man. That's you growing up, man. Like I said, don't let these kids' bank accounts make you forget that they are kids. They still young in life, man.
Right. If you think about where I was at 21, if I had this money, I'd be doing. If I had any type of rap skill, I'd be doing the same thing he's doing.
Absolutely,
but I can't
man.
rap. The only thing I can rap is a gift. You know what I'm saying? So, that's my rapping skills. And I'm not even very good at rapping gifts. So there you go. So I don't have a second career to fall back on as going to Bloomingdale's and being a gift rapper. He at least can do that. I mean, look at Brian Dable. They played his music. They're trying to relate to the guy. Like Jeff said, he's oozing with talent. But just don't get distracted by what he does off the field. Just see what he does on it. And if he produces on the field, who cares?
Exactly. That's all I care about is production on the field, results on the field, man. And just let it go, man. Everything else is not even a concern of those guys, man. When they're coming to cover the New York Giants and Kadarius Toney, they're covering football. They're not there to cover the other stuff, man. What that man does off the field, man. That's his business.
Well, they tried to.
Man, we did.
They tried to, but he's media some clowns, right? So he gives it back to him, and that's why I think a lot of guys don't ask him questions because like Pat Leonard's asking questions about like, oh, you weren't here. He's like, I had a personal matter. Why do I got to answer to you? Like, are you my boss? Like, I would have said the same thing to Pat Leonard. I'm like, who the hell are you? What does it matter to you? Dable knew what I was doing. That's all good. All this bullshit in the offseason, and the Giants didn't do him any favors. Let's be honest. The Giants didn't do him any favors when the media came and they were like, oh, did he get the playbook? Look at that. Buko, then the chat. Welcome. AK, your players better not injure mine this Friday. Well, I hope not. Be more optimistic there, Chris. We talked about your team being pretty good. So, but like I said,
seeing out there with the Jets, man.
But if you don't have anything else about the Cowboys, or the Giants,
you see, I took their
our closing thoughts, I guess.
Hey, I took their banner down. We was just figuring we revisit the Giants a little bit for like people like Jeff to join the stream a little bit after we got done wrapping up the Giants. But if you guys had any, we were just I don't know how Kadarius Toney even came up out of nowhere all of a sudden. But look,
well, I think it came up because we were talking about his talent and a lot of things that were heading into it, and Toney is one of those. He's one of those polarizing players, just like Daniel Jones is that you either love him or you hate him. And if you love him, you love everything about him. If you hate him, you're that guy who didn't like Odell Beckham Jr. and his blonde hair and his locks and things like that. I loved Odell Beckham Jr. He actually was a reason why I watched football every Sunday for the Giants. I didn't sit there and was like, oh, great. No, you had a guy that you couldn't leave your seat with. Toney is that guy. Now, if he can get over the injuries, and let's be honest, in college, he had injuries up until his last year. So let's hope that that's not the same trend going on in the NFL. Right now, he did tweak something. The trainers were looking at him, so I don't expect him to play at all tomorrow, really. But it would be fun to get to see him. If he doesn't play tomorrow, get him ready for 9/11. That's when we're going to need him the most. I just want to be full hands-on, full deck against the Titans. That's going to give us the best chance to win. We may not be talented enough to beat them, but at least it gives us the best chance to win if you have your full squad out there.
How about any of the other rookies you want to keep a particular eye on going into this game? I know I was touched on Thibodeau and Evan Neal earlier.
Yeah, I want to see. I want to see I want to see Jeremiah Hall. He's got a big opportunity to kind of make the team. Before he was losing out to Andre Miller, but unfortunately I would have said Andre Miller, but he broke his forearm, so he won't be playing. So Jeremiah Hall has a chance to kind of step up and be that swing tight end that we need, that move tight end, fullback, H-back role. And I just kind of want to see Jeffrey, welcome aboard.
What up, everyone? How y'all doing today? We here for the NFC East Round-Up. Let's go, New York Football Giants. How you guys doing today?
I think there's an echo in this room, right? There's two Macs. I see one in real life, and then I see an avatar Mac. I don't know which one to believe these days.
It's an optical illusion.
Welcome to the NFC East Roundup. We don't normally take live people, but you are here, and you seem to be everywhere. You are like Visa. You're everywhere you want to be. So tell us what you want to do and some of your thoughts going into Thursday night's game.
Well, I mean, the one thing I want to see this Thursday night in terms of the game is obviously we don't want to have to deal with any injuries, but most importantly, let's see what this first team offense can do for the first couple of drives around the field. We don't want to just see them go out there and stall 3 and out every single time. We want to see if these guys can move a little bit down the field, maybe get us a couple of touchdowns or something to give us a little bit of insurance that, hey, maybe we actually have an offense that can be somewhat competent. So I would make sure that Dable at least gives these guys 2 or 3 series just to see what we can get out of them because they need as much reps as they can get. And in terms of like the other thing, I want to see these depth players. I want to see how some of these young guys can go out there and see if they can snatch one of those, second team backup roles for the New York Giants going forward, especially the fact that we're weaker in terms of the linebacker position. We don't know what we have at the cornerback position behind our 2 starters, and of course the offensive line. I think the offensive line right now in terms of our depth is very weak. And we have to see if there's any of these guys can go out there and prove to us that maybe we actually have something there, because if we lose our guys, any of our guys on that offensive line, especially our offensive tackles, we're in trouble. So just seeing what guys can step up and give us some insurance that we have some decent depth behind our starters.
Well, I'd like to actually get a closer look. Now that you mentioned that with the offensive line, the kid we drafted in the 3rd round from North Carolina, not the one that got hurt, the Zudu. I'm curious to see because
Zudu better not look like doo-doo.
Zudu's hurt too.
Zudu's hurt. He got one of the I missed that.
He's questionable for the game. I don't know what his injury is, but yeah, he's apparently questionable.
He's butt hurt.
But I mean, I've been hearing good things out of camp from Zudu, and I was curious.
But Jeff, Mac, here's the problem with that. I want him to learn one position. The fact that they've got him learning guard and tackle, and that he's going to be maybe the number 1 reserve coming off the bench, doesn't really do anything for me. Okay, it really kind of scares me because then you got a guy, God forbid, coming in there who's raw and still hasn't seen all the game film, right? So if Andrew Thomas, knock on wood, is banged up for some reason, you have to put him out there. It's gonna be rough pickings, man. I mean, I think Jeff is right. We need to scour the waiver wire for some veterans who are going to be cut loose from teams because Jamil Douglas, Max Garcia.
Well, that's what this is, though. This is that wait and see period right now when that's going to start happening. I mean, teams are going to start trimming the fat, getting rid of some players. Some guys are going to be cap casualties. Some guys.
I don't want another Billy Price.
It just is. That's going to start happening, and I feel like there are going to be maybe a couple good guys out there that we could probably bring in, and just for those, like you said, that purpose at all. Some veteran leadership adds to that depth, man. So I just think right now we got to kind of. Wait and see what when these teams start shaking them leaves and see what falls off, man.
Mac, I've even heard some fans that have gone out there and said that they can't wait until we get Matt Parrott and Nick Gates back as potential death. Number one, you don't even know what these guys are going to be. They're coming off serious injuries. Matt Parrott was terrible last year when he was healthy. So if, God forbid, Thomas or Neal goes down, you really feel comfortable throwing Matt Parrott at tackle?
I don't want to sound mean, but I've already moved on from Matt Parrott.
Oh, I agree.
I've already moved on from Nick Gates. I know a lot of people want the feel-good story, but the probability is that that's a serious knee injury and a leg injury, and he hasn't put any weight on it in terms of like a grown human being. You know what I mean? It's different than using weights and lifting when an actual guy, 300-something pounds, is leaning on your leg, and you have to anchor. Will he have that ability to do that, on that surgically repaired leg? And let's be honest, the center position is something they've got to invest in or make a move with, meaning either move Lemieux there and practice with Lemieux. Like, that's how I look at it. You practice with Lemieux at center, let him get the reps. But I was telling somebody before, we had a discussion. I said, if you're going to do Lemieux as your number one center, right, going forward at some point, then give him the gear to be a backup center. Don't try to thrust him in there now. Let him learn from John Feliciano. Let him take some reps on the side. Let him get to work in the gear. And then next year, you can come in and then maybe you draft a guy or something like that. And what ends up happening is then you can groom either another center or he can be your guy going forward. But what I don't want to see is like, oh, we're just going to put him in because I don't want to see that happen. I want this to be done correctly. Give these guys a chance to build. Give these guys a chance to cross train. But when you cross train players at positions that they're not familiar with, it tends to hurt them down the road because they can't focus. It's like this, Mac. You're asked to do your job at your particular workplace, right? Then they tell you, hey, Mac, we're short-staffed. Now you're going to have to learn a whole new skill set that you may not be familiar with, but because you're next to it or it's similar job duties, now you're going to do it. You're not going to be as comfortable in that position because you don't know all the ins and outs of that position like you do your current position. But you're going to be a team player and help out where you can. But where you lose is that you lose a good guy at, like, for example, if he's a decent left guard, now we have to move him to center. Now we have to replace the left guard. But if you think Azudu is going to be that good, then you move Lemieux to center to keep the best five going. That's how I look at it. Don't just force a move to force a move.
I definitely heard that. Definitely agree, man. But Jeff, since you just hopped on, if you had any other thoughts, I mean, we were going to wrap it up shortly here. But if you had any more thoughts on what you're looking forward to seeing with the start of preseason?
I just want to see a team that's going to go out there and show that they have a little bit of – that they're going to be a competitive team somewhat, especially looking at the starters because we've heard mixed reactions so far at camp, especially from that offense. And we just want to go out there and see that we have at least a competent offense. Even if it's, preseason or whatever, you need to get these guys the reps that they need, especially the quarterback and the wide receivers. They need to show us something that we might have at least something going forward with this offense because right now, Daniel Jones just looks like he's got no chemistry or no timing at all with his top receivers. And he needs to get as many reps with these guys as possible, and you can't worry about injuries. I'm really happy. The happiest thing I've heard Dable say is that he's going to play these guys and not worry about them getting hurt because you can get hurt anytime. You get hurt on the first play of the first game of the season. So get these guys out there.
Saquon Barkley get hurt last year, stepping on somebody's ankle, just walking back to the huddle.
I mean, Barkley also got injured week 2 against the Chicago Bears, right? So, and it wasn't even a turf injury. He jumped in the air, got hit, and landed awkwardly. So, This is a violent game. The intensity is going to turn up right now, and you want to get these guys as much exposure to that intensity as possible, especially the young guys. And especially with a team, like Jeff said, that's learning the nuances of an offense. You don't want them to miss out on getting reps because you're like, well, they had a scrimmage, which, by the way, they look caca in, okay? They didn't look good in this scrimmage. They don't look good right now. They're having a lot of trouble with the install. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's practice. But these are the times you want to look good because you take what you do on practice and it translates to a game.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Adam. I mean, you need to get as many reps with these guys as possible, and you got to take advantage of this when you have the opportunity. So let's see this offense have at least – would you guys both be comfortable with at least 2 or 3 series with these offensive guys before pulling them out?
Played the entire first quarter.
Spoke earlier. I would like to see a whole damn quarter from these guys if that's what it is, because this team needs to learn how to play football against other people.
Listen, the more reps they get, the better.
Like, yeah, this team they need it. This team needs it. You can't be holding back right now. Like we just said, football's a violent game. People get hurt. You can't go out there with that mentality of being scared. This team needs to work on the field.
Like if you want to give Barkley, a couple of series, a couple handoffs to get him hit at the line and get tackled a little bit, and then you want to pull him out and give the other 3 backs who are fighting for roster spots a chance, I understand. You know what I mean? I get it because we know what Barkley is. He know that the offense is going to basically run through him because that's how good he is. So if you want to give him a break, that's fine. Everybody else on the offense hasn't earned that. The only other guy who might have earned it is Andrew Thomas.
That's true. But I was going to ask you guys too, real quick. Have you guys talked about the players that you're looking forward to seeing? Out of the not necessarily the starters, but some of these backups that you're curious to see how they play in this first preseason game.
Yeah, I mentioned Darian Beavers and Jeremiah Hall as two guys I'm looking forward to in the preseason. I'm also looking forward to Tyrod Taylor to see a competent backup quarterback. To see, and Miz says take nothing from this game. You take stuff from this game, Miz. You're not watching football correctly if you're not taking stuff from the game. The reason I don't care if they win or lose, but you will. I mean, Victor Cruz got found in the preseason, so you don't want me to take the Victor Cruz, highlights in the Jet game as anything. I'm not going to just poo-poo a preseason game because it doesn't fit the narrative that you're looking for.
I mean, look, right now the position that this New York Giants team is in, every preseason game, every preseason snap is just a little more critical than for some others, man. We're not established enough. This team has a lot to prove, and I think everything matters throughout this whole entire preseason, man. Everything is going to count.
I watch O-line. It's too early to grow. Miz, the point is this. Last year, the preseason revealed that our offensive line was going to be bad, and a lot of players were going to be terrible. Going into that line, a lot of people had optimism. The preseason revealed a lot of stuff that people didn't want to believe, and it turned its reared its ugly head. So there are some things I'm going to look at that may not be game function-wise or scheme-wise. We're not looking at the scheme right now. That's not what you're looking for in preseason. You're looking if a guy can run the right route, if he's getting the correct depth, if he's getting the proper drops. You know what I mean? These are the type of things you're watching. How Daniel Jones reacts to some adversity. You know what I mean? Those are the things you watch in preseason. These games do matter. If they didn't matter, we wouldn't be playing them. We'd start right at 9-11.
And I think two of the most important players on this team, I would actually say two of the top five most important players on this team that cannot get hurt is Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal. Those two guys have got to be out there, and they got to be brick walls at left and right tackle, because do you really feel confident if we have to throw out a Will Holden or a Matt Peart, God forbid, if one of these two get hurt? They need to stay healthy. That's going to give Daniel Jones the best opportunity to have somewhat of a clean pocket from the outside in terms of these opposing pass rushers. So those two guys have to stay healthy.
Tell Keelan Doss that the preseason doesn't matter. Tell Victor Cruz that the preseason doesn't matter. You can find out some things in preseason. And I don't care if we win the game. Be healthy, but I want to learn about Darian Beavers. I want to learn about Cordell Flap. I want to learn about, Richie James. I want to learn about some of these guys I haven't seen play in live action that didn't get the reps that they wanted or are getting reps against a different team with a different vendetta.
I mean, I just want to. Yeah, I mean, like you said, health is the key, but at the same time, like I said,
I'm gonna take it however I want.
You can't go out there with that mentality. You can't go out there worrying about being hurt, or you're going to get hurt. You just got to play. You got to play loose, and you got to play fast, and you got to just play football, man.
And like I said
play
before,
football, man. You just got. I just want to see production.
It doesn't matter if they show anything because they're going to game plan differently week to week anyways. So what they did last week may not be what they do this week. So if you want to show some gadget plays, by all means, this is a chance to see those plays in action to see if they work, to kind of get a feel for certain situations down and distance. For example, I'd love to see the Giants get the ball with 2 minutes to go in the first quarter and see if they can run some type of hurry-up offense with Daniel Jones and see if he can execute in a pressure-packed situation going forward. You know what I mean? You work on the scenarios that you can't normally emulate the same way in practice.
Absolutely, man. But guys, everybody, I want to thank everybody coming out, checking us out today, man. As we talked about this opening week of preseason, man, it's been a fun stream, man. It's been very fun engaging with all you guys in the chat, man. Everybody, the Big Blue crew came out, hit Hardcore Productions, man. Hardcore Sports, man. Make sure y'all all sub up to Hardcore Sports. Adam Costas NYG Jeffy T 3285, and of course up to myself, Mac the Giants fan, man. This has been another off-season edition of the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up, and you know we'll be back next Wednesday night, same time, same bat channels, same everything else. So we'll see you next Wednesday when we talk about the results of this game and look forward to week 2 of the preseason. So let's go! I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MACDA Giants Fan.